Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and welcome to a Friday edition of Office Hours. You guys, I don't know about you guys, but these, I want to say they're my favorite of the week, but I mean, when you have a week that includes hanging out with Terry Lewis and Fab and Shakir, like, all right, guys, I still love you. I still love you guys. I still love hanging out with you guys.
Chop liver, chop liver.
I know, right? But so we're back with the homies. We got Drew and Connor with us today. How you guys doing?
Doing
You
good,
know,
doing good.
Really good. Very stoked. Just really appreciating you holding down the office hours for you guys. And this week has been spectacular. It's been truly killer. I haven't been able to participate in a while, but it's just been going beautifully. And the guests this week, man, just so fun, so
I
cool.
know, it's
Right?
awesome.
Yeah, it's been an epic week. So I know Fridays, it's more of a family affair over here with the chat. All the familiar faces.
They're like way ahead of us. They start
I know
three pages in.
Exactly. They've already discussed everything. But if for some reason you missed some of this week's episodes, man, with Fab this week, we kept on going on Tales from the Switch. He opened up a new song. We got lots of great mixing tips from him, and kind of seeing how he's developing a template. He gave away a pretty good tip about how to take, especially if you're working on an album style project, how to take, the first mix for the record and then turn it into a template that you can then drag and drop other audio files into to keep on working towards other songs. So I really enjoyed that part of his session. And then, of course, news of the week was Shakir King, Cass McCombs, the very first downloadable Luna session now available. Man, I'm so excited to have that out. That was such a fun project to do. It was such a big undertaking, and to see the results of it. Like, here, let me just share my screen with you guys for a second, because I think this is super cool. The fact that you go across the internet, we've got like Pitchfork, Rolling Stone, Under the Radar, NME, like the coverage, for the song itself. But then, there's a bunch of them have also kind of included some bits about how Luna was a part of making this happen, which is, it's such a cool thing to be able to share with everybody. And the fact that you can just, pop into Luna, come under the create page and download that exact session file is, that's super special, man. I haven't seen a lot of other workstations do something similar to that. But the other cool thing that maybe you guys have seen this, maybe you haven't, but there's a music video that goes along with the song. So Cass and his label put this video together. This is the footage that we shot for the trailer video that's on our channel, but they went ahead and made a full music video for it up on Cass's channel. And it's really cool because you get to see the recording session kind of unfolding live. So if you guys don't mind, I just want to hear the song and watch the video with you guys.
Hell yeah.
You guys down?
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
I'm down.
What's left when fortune fair returns a thief? Providence is too brief. What's left to grieve? Currency, the bitter end. After the flood, what remains? The wine of Lebanon. The wine of Lebanon. What's left when harvest tugs upon her yoke? Cruel garters around her choke. What's left to hope? Strap me down into your chair. Whip me till I beg for air. The wine of Lebanon.
I can listen to that. I've listened to that song many times. And I can still listen to it over and over again. It's such a cool track, man. It's so cool
Yeah, it
that
really
that's
is.
that's available, care of Luna, and it's
It-
you'll be able to get in there and explore those tracks, man. I don't know about you guys, but I've been opening that up and just like soloing stuff and playing around.
There is so much artistry in that song from top to bottom. It's a poetic, beautiful lyric that like I found myself like thinking about randomly, just being like, what is like, there's a lot of like that kind of, mystique and artistry and meaning and sort of literary quality to it. And Jakir as a producer, just like the tones, the sound, all the players, like it's a phenomenal tune with artistry top to bottom. And the fact that it was our premiere Luna multi-track recording, it's just like I couldn't have been happier with seeing how this came together and seeing it unfold in process too. And so excited to have it out there for
Yeah, that
everyone
must-
to hear.
That must be cool for you, Connor. You work hard, you work, for years on this stuff, and then like to see guys like that take it and do that with it. I mean, that must be like seriously like fulfilling, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can't imagine being happier with it. It's just, yeah, kind of almost speechless about it on a certain level because it's truly beautiful. It feels amazing. And it's a wonderful song to be able to share. Do the same thing. I just go in there and listen to parts and just like, it's got such a classic quality too of a recording that like feels timeless, where you're like, it could kind of be from any era. And that's sort of a thing where Luna really comes into play, where it's like, you can do a modern sound, classic analog sound. You can really fine tune what you've got going on. And they did this incredible job from top to bottom with that on the Wine of Lebanon.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully if you guys have already downloaded the session, you'll notice there's a little README PDF in there, which kind of talks a little bit about how those sessions were prepared. Just a few notes about what's going into them, and some of the recommendations for things to play around with in there. One of them, which we haven't really mentioned much about that session, is that when we did the string session, we set up the Townsend Labs as kind of in the middle of all the strings sort of microphone, so you can actually get in there and play around with the different Townsend mic models. If you're ever curious about how those sound, and this is a great excuse to try that out. But there's
got that 14-day demo. You can click on that 14-day demo if you don't own those.
Exactly. And then so we're about to push up an update to this PDF. If you've already read this, you've seen all this, but what you guys haven't seen yet is that we've now included a bunch of the session photos that Shakir and I were sharing on Wednesday while we were here talking. So this kind of gives you a good idea of the the tracking setup for the room, some of the gear that was used, including the Neve sidecar. You can see Cass is there recording. He was using a U47. This is Jakir's favorite kind of microphone techniques for recording guitar. Obviously, you can't go wrong with a flip top Ampeg with a 47 in front of it. Here we've got the band kind of all working the song together, and it was such a cool project. Like, I wish there's no way to really portray it accurately in video format of just what it's like to be in on a session like this. But seeing, it's so many different things kind of all getting added together, and the lifeblood of that is really the musicians and the arrangement and the producer and the artist and everybody kind of coming together and adding their own thing to the song. That's what makes a recording that's special like this one. So of course,
Did Jakir mention something about an input list or something, or am I mistaken on that? I can't remember.
Drew, you were amazing at segues, my friend, because after all these beautiful photos is the input list.
Oh, okay. So
You nailed it.
I swear to God, that was not staged. I literally just remembered that from watching and was curious if it was in there.
Exactly. Yep. So, and then the cherry on top is at the end here. We've got the input list that we used, that Shakir and Colton were using while tracking. So you can see all the sources. When you see CP, that means console processing, or using the console input. Obviously, when you have a big, beautiful, Rupert Neve designed Focusrite studio console, that's one of less than 10 in the world now. Jakir really wanted to push the edge of what you could do, in combining both analog processing plus Apollo processing, and just kind of put it all together. So this kind of gives you the details, and as we showed on the broadcast, you can go in there and stuff for like the kick, snare, and the toms, anything where you see Apollo processing. If you set the input of that session to a mic preamp on your interface, you'll be able to pull up the signal chains that he was using, that's no other workstation can do something like that, which is really
Yeah, I had a
cool
couple
to see.
people had some issues with that, and I think one of the tricks for that is to make sure that before you arm the track, you assign a valid mic input. Because if you don't have a valid mic input when you arm it, it won't recall that setting. So that's something
It's important to
yeah, it's
remember.
important.
And then, yeah, as long as we're sharing my screen and I'm highlighting fun things from this week, obviously our session with Terry yesterday was super fun and special. But I got a note in Slack that there's a certain Google document going around, and I saw you guys all chatting about it earlier today too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give a big shout. The Ultimate Luna Office Hours guide is being put together. This is so cool to see. Shout out to everyone that's involved on this. I've seen Victor, Chris, Jeff, let's see, Danielle, Ron, Dr. Voodoo. I know is on these. And guys, this is amazing to see. Thank you so much for doing these. And as this keeps on getting kind of enhanced and getting things added to it, hopefully we might be able to kind of use this collectively as a reference for finding more awesome info about Luna. So yeah, major shout out to all of you guys. This is so cool to see. And I think you guys probably might not be able to post links in the chat. But Drew, are you on the chats? Would you be able to paste that link in so people can get to it?
Yep, I can do that right now.
And lastly, I've seen plenty of people asking about bobbleheads. I see everything. I see what you guys are saying. So yes, we're looking into it. I can't decide. There's so many to pick from, guys. Like how would I ever, like, I don't know. Maybe the Superman one would be a fun one.
It seems like we need a series, like one per phase, or one a week, maybe, just like the mood you're in.
Exactly. Just keep on, collect them all. We'll make it a collectible set. Maybe,
Yep.
Yeah, maybe something like this little spaceman Ben could be fun.
Oh my god.
Seems appropriate.
Seems appropriate. So yeah, apparently all you need are 4 photos of my head, and then bobbleheads can be made. So yeah, this is yeah, we hear you guys.
That's hilarious. Wasn't that? I think we have to thank Ryan Wardell for that, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I think he found that. Ryan found that.
Oh yeah, no, there was we got a good link from there. There's some feedback items submitted saying, we need some bubbleheads, and then the company took it from there, and we're, who knows what's going to happen next.
Nice. Well, so I mean, that's man, it's been such a good big, and then this is all. The only thing we haven't talked about that's happened this week, there was another update to Luna. We got 1.0.3 out the door.
Yes, indeed. Another release of Luna 1.0.3. Good number of really heavily driven by feedback bug fixes. So that's really the mode we're in right now, is to just kind of jump all over the things that we get the most input on that are quickly actionable. And so hopefully if you're out there watching now, watching later, you're submitting feedback, you're seeing the results of that. If nothing else, in the form of some amount of acknowledgement, like there's certain issues that we're like, yep, we're looking into that. So we message it, but plenty of issues that we're just knocking out as they come in. So some major improvements in 103 for stability with audio units plugins, nice. Decreased utilization of the GPU, which is stuff that we're still looking into on top of what we keep adding in each release. We've done in 102 and 103. Each one has had subsequent improvements to GPU usage. One feature request that we were able to get in really quickly, of course, is trackpad zooming. Super familiar, natural gesture now for trackpad users, laptop users, that lets you zoom in and out horizontally on the timeline.
So good to see that one. And
just feels right now. It's really nice addition. That was relatively very easy, in fact, and glad to see so much feedback on it, because it's the kind of thing like, yep, we're gonna jump right on that and do it. All of the Waves plugin users out there should be seeing their compressors compress. Unique issue there, specifically for a certain set of Waves plugins, and just some audio units scanning improvements in general for plugins with different stem formats and things. We're still, of course, not yet supporting mono in and stereo out. And just to touch on that briefly, that's a major reason why you may not see an audio units plugin on a particular track type. Just make sure that you're on a mono or stereo track. And that's, of course, the type of functionality that we'll be looking to add in the future as we evolve Luna. Bunch of other good stuff in there. We keep adding the release notes on uaudio.com, help.uaudio.com, or if you just Google Luna release notes after you've updated, you can find those on the web. And of course, each time you do check for updates in app and there's an update available, you'll see the notes about the fixes. MIDI recording issue got fixed, a copy and paste issue with plugin headers. So if you're in a plugin window and you hit copy and then go paste to another instance of the plugin, we resolved some stuff there. So much of this was heavily driven by bugs that we saw in the feedback button. I think at this point I may have read almost 10,000 feedback submissions.
Oh my man!
The thing,
3,000 from Ben and myself.
Yeah, you know, it's the Ben ones are hilarious. We've got to make a flip book of them someday, and you know, spread it around the company because it's like late night conversations with Ben by himself, like using Luna and
monologues.
You know, yeah, and there's some beautiful stuff in there. Really, some trippy ideas too. Some beautiful customer focused sentiments as well. It's a really beautiful thing. And yeah, man, just keep hitting that feedback button. It's like of vital importance to us right now. I can't stress enough that I'm literally reading every single feedback item. It's like a huge part of my day right now on a daily basis to make sure we are aware of what that information is. Yeah. It's going to be very important to us moving forward. It's not to say that, you know, we're just going like down the list. We've got a lot of plans. We've got a lot of big things that we need to do and we want to do that are above and beyond things that are being asked for. But every one of those requests is getting counted in a way. So just keep doing that. And again, you will not get a direct response for that. If you need support, please reach out to customer service. If you have an issue opening a session or with the crash or something that comes up, that's also a channel where we've been able to really quickly act and respond to customers on the way that we are deploying updates and able to sort of send specific builds to people, be like, hey, we think we fixed this issue. Can you try this? And like do stuff like that. That's really powerful, really focused on getting people sorted out. So if you're having an issue, contact customer service. If you've got a bug report, an idea, a problem in general, use the feedback button. That's where it's going to go to get aggregated together in terms of like, oh, here's a trend. Here's an issue a lot of people are having. It's vague, but we don't know what the root cause is. Let's investigate it. Like I'm constantly bundling things up and sending it to our QA team to be like, hey, here's an area where people are experiencing issues. Can we look into this further? And it's really heavily driving what we do right now. It's wonderful. It's
what about logs, users and sending logs, Connor? Are they ever, under what circumstances might they be helpful?
You know, I would say they're always helpful. So if we've got a good way to message that out there that's durable, like we should put that on the knowledge base if it's not already up there. I imagine it might be. Yeah, and we're looking into ways to improve the feedback form as well, because it's like I said, so important to us that we want to be able to like check a box and include the current log if you agree to send that up. And nice. Doing things like that are sort of stuff that we're considering how we would get moving and get the ball rolling on.
Cool. We've got a great question came in about this, Connor. How is Connor reading all of these feedback emails and still keeping a full head of hair?
Quarantine. Shelter in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone's seen this before.
No, you've always had
certainly.
It. You've always done the hat, my friend.
Yeah, I've had a hat on here, and like for trade shows, I go with the high and tight. And super cleaned up, but it's a different time in the world, my friends. And
I know.
I'm feeling like
tell me about it.
Yeah, my wife's actually kind of digging it, which is to me, I'm just like, well, like if my one audience outside of Luna office hours is okay with this, I might as well just roll with it. So it's a new me.
Yeah. We had a good question came in. Can you reset the Neve summing trial if it runs out?
There, you can request, I think, a one-time with CS, and then anytime you make a purchase of any UAD plugin or a Luna extension or instrument, every demo for all of your UAD2 demos or Luna extension instrument demos get reset.
Hot tip right there. That's a little tip. Spend a little something and then get them all reset at the same time. Yep,
it's something we've always done for UAD plugins, and we extend that same sort of benefit to Luna instruments and extensions.
Nice.
And I saw Marcus in the chat asked about the fact that the link on the downloads page is the previous version, and I guess the thought process there maybe, I don't know, is that anything you want to talk about there? Is it giving us the ability to roll back possibly? Is that the idea there? Or?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
I think that most people, I guess you want people updating Luna in app, right? That's the idea, the preferred method for getting your updates, right?
Sure. Yeah. The in-app way is the most streamlined. It has the least need for like sort of rebundling and repackaging. It's sort of some internal stuff in terms of getting things updated onto the website at all times or for different releases. So definitely look for updates in app. And it's just something that we're figuring out over time with this frequency of updates. It's just not something Universal Audio has done before to release software this regularly. And so it's very new to us, and we're still ironing out exactly like what all the mechanics of the various moving parts, because it's a substantial effort. But the Luna mechanism for check for updates is exactly why we wanted to do the work to get something like that in-house made, because there's, off the shelf kind of features that if you're a software developer, you can just go get, third party components and tools that will do this kind of thing for you. We looked into that. It's not sufficient for as much as we wanted to do. So we rolled our own, and it's already proving dividends, but it is the kind of thing where it's like, we're just going to hit you right inside of Luna. And you might not always see a match on the website right away. So just stick to that software updates, check the forums, check social. We're going to be messaging stuff all over the place there, but might not always be updating the download build. And the reason for that is as soon as you launch the updated software, or the downloaded software, you just get the update right away.
Right. So there's functionally no different than if it were, you're not missing out on anything by not having the absolute most up-to-date one on there. That when you update an app, it's the same thing.
Yep.
Cool.
Exactly.
Nice. Awesome. And let's see, Connor, where's the save button?
There is no save button.
Trick question. Nice.
Yeah. Luna is based on a database technology that is just constantly saving your changes as you make them. So every single completed command is automatically saved in the session. So the need for a save command to save your work, to like preserve what you've done, is unnecessary. Certainly there's a whole range of features with versions, with rolling back, with stuff that we have every intention of getting into and getting going in Luna that's not there currently. So there's certain workflow concerns with that, right? So what if you do something for a while, you just like many times you might open up a session, just mess around and be like, I don't want any of that. In the file menu, you can go to the revert to submenu and go back like 5 minutes in time, 10 minutes in time, and just kind of get yourself back to a particular moment in time, or just Command Z a bunch. And, if you did a certain number of things, you can get back to that particular state.
That's really cool. And I feel like I saw a user note that there's now a setting for that save period, right? Is that what the new miscellaneous autosave interval is all about?
That's been there since 1.0. So it's not it's not in fact new, but because there are already so many things in Luna, it might just be everyone kind of like digesting everything and then being like, oh yeah, that's there. I just noticed it. I mean, I'm going to come clean. I did not know that we shipped a simple pan feature. It was done in.
So that was a surprise to you too?
Yeah, randomly, like in 2018, I went back and looked. I was like, when did this get added? Because it was someone turned it on in 2018, and that's I won't go into that whole story. It's one of the most incredible things about the team we have is that they're all musicians. They're all users of recording software, of DAWs, they have their own desires too. And
of course.
Sometimes they go in and they're like, man, I just want a simple pan knob. And anyway, so that is in the world, and it's a beautiful feature. There's a bug with it, and we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that bug. But I was seeing in the feedback, I'm like, the simple pan is awesome, and I'm like, did we do simple pan?
Well, you forget, you remember, and then you forget, and then you re-remember, and you re-forget. I mean, it's like.
Well, I don't think any of us knew that it existed until last Friday when Drew pulled it out and was like, "Hey guys, did you know that this thing was here?" And then went out into the world of like, "Oh yeah, there's this simple pan thing," and suddenly we all remembered that it was there.
I still got a couple up my sleeve.
I can't wait to see him. So to that point, we are like, oh yeah, we did that, and it's wonderful. So the session auto backup interval has been there for some time, since 1.0, and you can go in and set that to a time frame that works for you. Of course, that's very rudimentary, and we plan to expand on all that stuff with versioning functionality in the future. I can't speak specifically about when any of that's available, but it's like critically important, we understand, for users to be able to version, to be able to share documents without having to send like 80 gigabytes of content back and forth. All that stuff is 100% on our radar.
what I find, Connor, tell me if this is correct, because sometimes what I tell people is just I'm like, if most other apps do it, chances are Luna's going to do it at some point. I mean, it's the goal is it's a long-term goal. It's the idea is for this to be a full-featured thing that we want everybody to live in, right? I mean, was that a fair assessment?
That is a fair assessment. Yeah. And we get the wonderful position of being able to look at what's out there and get the feedback from folks now that we've released and know what to do at different times and know how to do it, know what is going to make people feel familiar with the feature, comfortable with the feature, exactly what their expectations are. So we're incorporating all of that, and it's a fair assessment. If it's a general capability that you have and you want it, hit the feedback button. And it's fair to assume that that's the kind of thing that, if it's a general DAW or recording system capability, then you can expect at some point to see it in Luna. It's definitely, like you said, we want people to be in it for the long haul. We're not just kind of throwing this out there as a free offering that's here, now we've done this and we're going to move on to other things. This is a huge part of what we're doing now, is to have this platform, and it's going to just grow and build. And hopefully we're, proving that out already with the fact that in 1 month we did, three releases of Luna, and we're going to try to keep a good pace on that kind of stuff. At some point we'll slow down, get back into fully, focused on future stuff, bigger items. There will be fewer new issues or issues coming in from the field that we want to try to respond to quickly, but we're going to continue to do the right speed, right cadence of releases to keep people engaged, keep people seated with new functionality that's easy to achieve, and then also be working on bigger features for the future.
It's really, to me, I've been doing this a long time, and it's like reinvigorated my work. It's like it makes me want to work. I don't know. It's like freshened things, It's like, and I've said this before on here, is like I work in the mix window now. I mix in the mix window. Luna, I mix in the mix window. It's like wow, that's where you should be mixing, in the mix window. But like in other apps, I don't do that. It's like I'm just staring at waveforms. But like with Luna, it's just so beautiful, and it's like so everything's just so fluid, and it looks great. The GUI's awesome on big monitors. It's like, anyway. So yeah, just thanks for doing all that.
No, that's wonderful to hear, and that's definitely it's like a personal experience for all of us too. That's like so interesting, is that like you can work on a product and kind of get jaded, but we're working on this and having an incredible amount of fun, and it's just a great fortune to be a part of like the Universal Audio family, to do that, where like we care about music making and offering a platform for music making, and it's like we're just going all in on that in this way with the group of people that we've got, and it's incredible to be able to do that. Like we're considering concepts that like you're used to with like your iOS device, where it's like, hey, I get an update like every day or every week or something, that's like always iterating, or other desktop apps that are like new feature. It's like that is modern software. That is a modern expectation of people using computers and devices, and like we don't see why we can't do that with a new piece of recording technology.
So I saw a great question came in here a couple minutes ago. What's the simplest way to shift all of the audio left or right on the timeline if you've had tracks that are hidden or bust or edited? And then also, will the automation stick with those tracks?
Yep, automation follows all of the clips. So if it's under a clip area and it's in the selection of what gets dragged, it will follow along with that. The easiest way is to click in the all tracks ruler and hit Command A. So the all tracks ruler, I think Ben is about to share, is the gray ruler area directly above the first track in the timeline, directly below the event and time ruler. So it's this gray, like middle gray or slightly lighter gray horizontal ruler area. And what that does is it places the cursor on all tracks. And so if you click in there and press Command A, that's going to select everything on the timeline, and you can move it literally grab on one of those clips and drag everything left and right, and that should move everything around. So the other things that you can do with the shift commands is insert time.
So what about, and will this do it? Like even if I have hidden tracks, will those also get moved as well?
Oh, sorry, I missed that part of the question. No, actually, I don't think it will, and that's sort of a question of whether it works that way right now or not.
Yeah, just did it.
Cool. So yeah, I think the right way to do it, to be sure, is to show all of your show all of the tracks. The other thing that won't get moved right now is versions. So that command does not apply to versions. It's just meaning to all versions on a track. So we don't have a fully fledged command that's like shift everything, like the entire set of content and playlists and all that stuff. So you're working with whatever's on the top, and in theory, whatever is shown, though it looks like that is working right now for hidden tracks. So
yeah, but as soon as I change the take around, then it messes it up.
Yep.
Which makes sense. So yeah, for anyone that's as Connor's kind of explaining this here, so I'm doing it using the so up in the workflow menu, go into the edit workflow, and you'll see there's your normal set of edit tools, but then there's these shift edit tools. And so these, if you're coming from the Pro Tools world, these are we're used to this being called shuffle mode, where if you come in here and you make say I make a 4-bar cut. If I do this in shift mode and I say cut, it moves everything in my session just slid forward, cutting that time out. But again, if you do the same sort of thing and you do, say I want to double, let me just put this on bar mode so I'm not messing it up. So if I select these 4 bars and I can do a duplicate, for instance, and now I've just extended that part of this, I've duplicated that part and added the extra time into my session. So this is a really powerful way to do it. And as you guys saw, I'm not sure this is the expected behavior, but it's the way it works now. Is even if I had the hidden tracks, and I wonder if that's because I'm selecting these wallets. Yeah, here we go. So you see over here on my tracks window, when I use the all tracks timeline up here, click and drag on this light gray. Now if I hit duplicate, let's double up that intro. The 2 tracks I had hidden won't be acted on. Those two are still the same length that they were. And hide those again. There we go. And now we're back. Now we're back to where I was. But it looks like what you can do is you can select. You can have hidden tracks that are still selected and still being acted on. So that would explain why that was happening, right, Connor?
Yep, that does explain it. Yeah, thanks. So if you add those tracks into the selection, the cursor does in fact get placed on them. They're just not visible in the timeline.
Mm-hmm. But
and
again,
a little workaround for since the versions don't get moved now is just if you keep yourself in snap mode, and when you move things, move them nice chunky 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bars, and then you can just grab and move your versions the same amount. Just a little a clean workaround until until that's in there.
Yeah, it is really handy. I personally always forget that there's this track one that you can use to select them all. Like I'm always coming over here and trying to select everything and get it in there. But yeah, that's a nice little shortcut to be able to come up there.
It's from the chat. Terrell Jones was asking. It's probably a good time to mention that the nudge function is for MIDI only currently. So the nudge commands that you see in the help menu are MIDI only at this time. So there is no nudging of audio just yet in version 1. So if you're seeing that explains why.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you gotta get in there, and so if you're in snap mode, obviously you'll notice like your regions will always be snapping. But of course, you can always just grab a region, and then press the command key, and that allows you to break out of snap mode and just nudge. And this is how you can kind of get in there and do those tiny nudges, if you're looking to do that at the moment.
Oh, hey Ben, while you're sharing screen, why don't you want to hit that one of the things we had hoped to cover today? This whole set bar concept.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah, you want to.
Yeah. So
this is something I've been seeing a lot online, where with as a workaround for not having a count off feature. But I've been working with people and telling them I think it's a great idea to do this anyway. Ben's going to just show you guys a workaround here to kind of not start your song right on the beginning, because it's for some good reasons it's not a good idea. But so go ahead, Ben.
Exactly. So yeah, as you saw, I did the not good thing of starting my session right on bar, and I even had to move my idea out a bar to add in a little drum fill or something like that. But so here I've given myself a couple 2 minutes of buffer here before bar 1. So let's say I want to call. This is the downbeat of the song. I want my bar numbers to be numbered from here. You can come up into edit, set bar 1. And so now bar 61 just magically became bar 1. And it's nice that it leaves the timeline that's available behind, so you can see the negative bars all the way back to where I originally started my session. But now this is bar 1, and I can continue to produce from here. And then if say I want to add an extended cut and add some extra intro material, I now have the room to do that, but still preserving my bar 1.
Well, and even just things like imagine if the song starts with with an instrument. When humans play instruments, guitar players, they lift their fingers like and do things before the downbeat, before the note, right? So starting, one bar in is probably a good idea anyway for and air intakes. Imagine if the song starts with vocal, you actually literally have a few hundred milliseconds of sort of, air in front of the downbeats for pickup notes. And like you said, what if you want to add a little flourish in the beginning? So always a good idea, I think, to start a couple bars in.
Absolutely. So another good question come in. Someone's asking if when you're recording, are you monitoring, say you have tape like I do here in the session. If I were to go into record on any of these tracks, tape is automatically bypassed. So this is part of ARM mode. So this button over here, this indicates that I'm in ARM mode, which is accelerated real-time monitoring. So its whole goal is that if I'm going to sit here and hit my MIDI keyboard and play some drums, I want those coming to my headphones as fast as possible. So it takes a lot of the native processing, like the tape extensions and even any bus processing. You can see that my this drum track here is routed to the drum bus. When I go into ARM mode, it skips that drum bus. It skips my main fader, and it goes straight to the monitors or the cues. So again, its entire job as accelerated real-time monitoring is to get you that audio with as little latency as possible, while still giving you the chance to use UAD processing on it. So stuff like tape, Neve summing, any sort of bus processing, those are automatically going to be bypassed when you go into ARM mode. So that way you are getting just an instant feedback from what you're playing.
Of course, if you have to, if you really want to monitor with tape, right, Ben, you can throw it on the insert of one of your ARM inserts and monitor with it. Or if you really want to commit it, I've heard from a lot of people who a lot of their console sessions have Studer in the last insert. So don't be afraid to put Studer. Don't be afraid to put Studer in the record effects and commit it if you know what you want, and then also use the plugin version to monitor in Luna's inserts.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, there's a couple of ways around, and of course, I've seen some people asking about like how can I play with like Guitar Rig or other native processes where you do want to monitor through them. You can turn ARM mode off, but now you're gonna have a bit of a latency kind of happening, and it depends, I think, on what all's loaded up in your session. But it is possible to monitor through that through AU plugins and other ones by turning off ARM mode. Just don't expect a low latency experience.
Yeah, and if you have anything like that's phase linear or anything, like you're gonna it needs to be just within under 100 samples probably for it to be bearable, I think.
So a good question. How do you add additional plugins when your inserts are filled up? That's it.
Send it to a bus.
Send it to the bus. Well, and first of all, there's 8 slots. So there's this button over here in the navigation part of the mixer pane where you can have fixed slots. So you can have up to 8 inserts on a single track. If 8 isn't enough, then just like what Drew said, you can. I've done this before. I'm guilty of this as well. You can create a single bus. So you can say
single mono bus.
Single, exactly. You can make a mono or stereo. But I can say drum insert bus. I need more effects.
That's a really good track name.
Yeah, it's a great track. I don't know if you guys watch Terry Lewis. Me and Terry, we're on the same wavelength of like it doesn't hurt to just over-label things a little bit. So now this one drum track is now being bussed into this one bus, and now I have 8 more inserts to play with on that track. And the Drew, I'm stealing one of your tips that you were going to cover that I think is really great. And somehow we've never really addressed this on office hours before. We have
the notes.
Exactly. You can name your tracks, but I don't know if you guys know this. If you double click on not double click. Wait, Ben doesn't even know what he's doing.
Go to the edit. Yeah, go to the timeline.
From the timeline. Okay, so from the timeline, you double click on a
track.
You
should have let me do it, Ben.
I should have let you do it. I know. Leave it to the professionals. You can double click on a track and you'll see there's a comments area. So following, what Terry and I were talking about yesterday is like for keeping track, like if you're using, what guitar you use, what pedals you had turned on, what patch on your keyboard, what musician is playing it, what microphone you use. There's a whole host of things that you may want to keep track of, and you never know when you're going to need that information down the line. And this is a great way to kind of keep that and keep it in your session, keep it all kind of locked in one place. So yeah, just
and then you can and tab will move you from the name to the comments, and then command left and right will navigate you up and down the tracks. So you can very quickly go in there and pound through and get your notes and put your outboard chain into the comments field or what have you.
Mm-hmm. And then you were Drew, I'm stealing all your tricks, bro.
That's okay.
And then you can come in, you can do the similar thing for markers. So you can say, call this the top of the song. You can label it, give it a color, but then you can also come down here and this is where the song starts. Again, you may want to find, maybe you have something more interesting to say inside of your comments for your markers, but
and Ben, go ahead and make like 3 or 4, and we can review the marker shortcuts while we're here.
Absolutely.
Make like 3 or 4 markers in a row. This is appropriate for might have been appropriate in our 1.0.3 discussion, because we got some good marker improvements here where previously the shortcuts for that, right, which is the control option L and apostrophe, right, which takes you through those. That was only working in the timeline. Now it's working in both the timeline and the mixer. And furthermore, which is badass, is that it's now responding to the playback head. What is it? The update playback.
Update playback. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is really great. So now when you have update playback set to instantly, you can now pound through your markers with the keyboard shortcuts while the transport's rolling in either the timeline or the mixer, which is like super fast, getting around your session now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, try it.
All right. Yeah, it works both directions. That's really cool.
And then go to the mix window and do the same. And what's cool, Ben, is if you go in that workflow, bring up your universe view.
Yes.
So now when you're in the mix window, you've got the universe view, you have your markers, and you have your shortcuts, and you're just like, you're hauling butt, right? Super fast workflow there. That for me, that was huge. Like that, to get that fleshed out there here this early on in a 1.0.3 was awesome.
Absolutely. That's a really good one. And yeah, it was control option L or apostrophe. That's your shortcut here to jump between.
Yeah, control. Yep, exactly.
That's a really cool one. So much.
You want to do one more?
Yeah. Want to coach me through it?
Yeah. How about I'll just walk you through it. We can do. Well, actually, do you have any audio in this one?
I've got one drum loop.
Okay, yeah, that'll work.
And some really bad guitar I don't want anyone to hear.
So this one I don't think we've covered yet either, which is bulk fades, right? So first of all, go to the settings, go to the diamond, and then settings, and go to options, and you can see that you're down there in editing. You can choose your default time, which you, like me, you've changed yours to 10. I think it defaults to 100, but I changed mine to 10. So that's your default fade. And then if you go back to your session, you can, for example, if you want, you can triple click. If you just triple click to select that entire track and hit the F key, and then your default fade will be applied to all of your edits.
Everyone, and a nice little 10 millisecond something right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you'll see, if there weren't enough content to crossfade, it'll just do a fade in and fade out, which it looks like it's what it's doing there.
Yeah, exactly. This is a drum loop. So this is the end of the loop, and that's the beginning of the loop.
Yeah. Had you had audio beyond the boundaries of the clip, it would have done a crossfade.
Yep. Which if I keep scrolling here to the right, eventually I did one of those. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
And there should be another one. So that was one I made myself, and then there's another top and tail.
Yep.
Nice. That's really cool. So yeah, just hitting the F key, selecting, especially if you've kind of comped, either comped or chopped or done lots of splits. Let's just split this terrible guitar that no one's ever gonna hear. So here,
just triple click. Yeah, triple click will do it too. If you if you do.
So yeah, you can select like this, or triple click to select the whole thing, or Command A will also bring those all into selection. Hit the F key, and then now if I use my E key. Select that same area, hit E, and now I'm zoomed in straight on here, and there's my little 10 millisecond fade that it automatically created. And again, I can come in and select that, hit the E key, blow it up, zoom it in, hit the E key, get back out, and
Yeah.
it's a really cool way of doing it.
So I think that's one, two. Those are the 4 or 5 little, little workflow snippets that I jotted down today that we went over.
Just
The
to
other one-
take a look at it while you're in one of those tracks, I guess you bring that playlist back or go to another audio track in particular. We did some improvements in 103 on visibility of grid lines and warp view, which are like, the main thing that you're typically trying to snap audio to when you're in a warp workflow. We've improved the visibility of the warps and the grid in the background. So it's a lot easier to see the grid lines now and edit
those
directly to the
were
grid.
like super faint before.
Yep. Just little incremental improvements like with the early release and stuff that we just, didn't quite get to and now are cleaned up more fully. Same with automation. If you go into any automation view, we had a situation where the color of the waveform wasn't exactly how we wanted it, and we finally fixed that up so that it's a lot easier to see automation. Meaning, previously the color of the waveform was like the same version, like color as the track and the automation line. So it's kind of like, hey, I can't see where my value is, and so now that's much improved.
Cool.
I know I've been seeing lots of people are asking to be able to see the value as they're making a change.
Totally.
Any tips for how to do that in the meantime while we don't have it here?
For really it's about looking at the volume label if you're in volume, and you can see that in 2 places. For other parameters, just bear with us while we get that going. But if you're in a plugin, you can always have the plugin GUI open. Certainly not, a solution, but those are some workarounds. So you're going to need to look anywhere that has a value display for that particular parameter while you're editing it. Another thing you can do with any particular control in the mixer is double click on it and set the value there too. So like for a fader, it's going to be down in the actual value display. If you double click there, you'll get a popover. For panners, you'll get a popover. For Neve summing, tape, those things, you can get a popover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you guys can see the way I've gotten around this is by putting my playhead down, to the area that I'm about to affect with automation, and then either having the plugin open or having my channel fader visible over here. And then as I move this dot up and down, you'll see after I let go, it updates with what the new value is. So it's a little bit of a workaround for now while they're still building that feature to show it here on the timeline. But I know there's a lot of people that have been kind of requesting this. So place your playhead where you want it. Make sure you can see the control, whether it's a plugin or the volume fader, and then you can make the changes and kind of tweak it that way. It's a little bit more analog, like a little bit of just a little bit of pain for the gains that you want.
Well, you saw it when Jakir was doing all of his vocal rides where most of his automation was natural feel automation to be able to
all of it. Jakir I don't think he's ever drawn a piece of automation in his life.
Yeah,
I think he's a touchy feely kind of guy. Seems cold on the outside, touchy feely on the inside. But I'm just kidding around. But no, you can totally be really effective with the automation modes. So if you haven't played around with automation inside of Looney yet, I highly recommend it. Like I even on just this little simple idea I was playing with last night. Like this, I've got a Moog arpeggio thing going on here. I put it into latch mode, and then had the mini Moog open, and you can see, just by tweaking the knobs and having it in latch mode, it automatically started recording the automation data. And so even like little minor tweaks throughout the course of a track, this is really what can give an arrangement or a production a lot of shape and a lot of life. Giving it, especially, change stuff like filters or attack and decays, stuff like that. Really kind of, it takes it from being just a static piece of music to something that has a lot more life to it.
So Ben, maybe while we have Connor here, it might be good to, one of the other things on our list was that the sample rate discussion, because I've noticed a couple people, and it came up a little bit with the Jakir session where, with Luna not having a defined sample rate per session. I saw a couple people who were opening the Jakir session at 96K, and it was, it was using a little bit more of the tax in the CPU, a little bit more than it would have at that native rate. So, yeah, I don't know if you had something you wanted to talk about with that, as far as just understanding that Luna will not overtake the sample rate of your hardware, and it's you want to. So if you know you're about to work on a song that was at 48, set your you can set your sample rate to 48, then open the session, and that way it doesn't happen. I don't know if you have anything you want to say about that, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything you said is right. It's the default method of Luna with regard to hardware sample rate is to leave your hardware alone and consider that a variable that you've declared. And certainly any additional functionality you'd want to see around that, please hit the feedback button and let us know. There's certain things that we would consider somewhat obvious that we can address in the future, like giving you some indication of media in your session.
Yeah.
Can you imagine maybe like a list of all of the files that you've recorded and what sample rate they were in? Like, oh yeah. So in a lot of senses, there's some obvious stuff there to do, and
that's a spoiler alert, everybody. Connor's letting you know what's coming down the pike.
No, I thought that was like we were just making stuff up on the spot. Like I've never heard of such a feature. Yeah.
It's a cool concept though when you think about it, because if it were. It gives you control, and once you understand that, and which is a little bit different, but once you understand it, it's actually really cool. Like we've talked about this before, the ability to cut drums at 48 and then go to 96 for vocals, which maybe makes the converter sound better, makes plugins behave better, that ones that aren't upsampled, and reduces latency, right? Like we've said that, we'll say it again, right? When you go to 96, you have the latency. I don't know if it's exactly half, but it shortens it a good bit. So it's like it seemed a little quirky at first, but like once you get your head around it, that, oh, okay, I'm in control of the sample rate, and then I launch my session. Like it's super cool. And I think that basically what you're kind of hinting at coming down the pike is when that's fleshed out fully, it's gonna be even more badass. To be you're gonna be able to do all sorts of things.
Yep, because right now people might be hitting some pain of why is there so much background processing when I open a session that I didn't record at the same sample rate? It's because everything is actually real-time sample rate converting to your current hardware sample rate and then rendering in the background. So that's the key thing to understand, and the kind of thing that we can give you in the future some more flexibility on. But the key aspect there is don't stop you, don't interrupt you, don't prevent you from doing things. It's like a whole like concept of like no, or as few modal dialogues as possible, as few interruptions as possible. Like there's no, like this name is already taken. It just automatically increments the name. It's just like, we really don't want to stop you. And the thing about, some of those things is it does make some decisions on your behalf right now with the default operating behavior. It's like, yeah, you're going to sample rate convert possibly gigabytes worth of audio in the first several minutes of opening a session. Mm-hmm. And that's part of, actually leveraging the power of computing today. It's like there's not a lot besides like real-time CPU performance that is like a barrier or a frontier now, where it's like you can run a ton of plugins, more than you could ever possibly, in some cases, use. And of course there's improvements we can still make there, but things like how available disk space is and how fast computers are to be able to do certain things like this for you now without like having to think like, oh, I need to change my sample rate or import and sample rate convert. That flexibility is in at the ground floor instead of being like an afterthought. So the niceties of being like giving you the ability to say, yeah, I want to change my sample rate. It's totally the kind of option that we can see adding in the future. It's like, hey, we noticed that most of the audio in this session or all of the audio is at 48K. Like, do you want to change your sample rate? And it's not going to be a modal dialogue. It'll be like a notification. It just gives you the choice without necessarily being interrupted. That's kind of how we think about things.
That's awesome. That's like, it's really cool to hear that straight from you. Like, the people developing this stuff, to hear your guys' your philosophy and your approach to that stuff. I think it really helps, like it helps users to hear that and like, and get like, why this seems a little strange to me, but like when you hear you talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's awesome,
Mm-hmm. I saw a bunch of people have been chiming in here with a question asking about how the tempo map in the Wine of Lebanon, how did they make that tempo map? So I've, in the background while you guys were chatting there, I opened up the session to be able to show people, give them a little hint as to how this works. So let me just pull this down. So I'm going to reset the session. We're going to delete all this amazing tempo mapping work that some Shakir or Colton or Connor, I can't remember who actually did it. So you can see, we did the identify beat or identify bar one command has already been done on the song. So that dropped the number one marker, bar 1, beat 1 is right here on the downbeat of the bass. You can even see, like, you can have information before that, but so it's a fairly simple process, and it helps to have drums or have something with some transient qualities to it. In this instance, there's a great kick drum that just happens to fall on the downbeat of every bar. Lucky for us.
Imagine that.
Right? So just I'm clicking around here using my selection tool. I hit tab. There we go. Now I'm selected. This is where bar 2 should be, and right now it thinks it's 14950. So it's really close, but it's not quite there. So then you can simply come up to the edit menu and align bar, and you'll notice I love kind of showing it this way of like there's a menu option for it of align bar, but you notice right next to it there's a keyboard shortcut which is Option Command I. So I'm gonna do that one, and I want this to be bar 2. Thank you. So then you come to the next one, and since I'm snapping, I'm automatically snapping to bar 3. But look, that kick drum's just a touch later than where my bar 3 is now. So I hit tab to snap to that transient, and I'm going to press Option Command I. Boom! It knew. It was like, oh, I get it. I see what you're doing here. You want that to be bar 3, don't you? Same thing. Click, bring it to where the next one is. Option Shift. Oops. It helps if I do a full bar rather than a half a bar. Option Command I. Boom. There. I made bar 4. So this is a super fun task for you to give to somebody else to do. But this is, and you can even see they'd already put in that 2/4 bar. So either Jakir or Colton, or I don't know. You didn't do this, did you, Connor? It came to you that way?
I think I did at one point do that, but I'm not sure if I accidentally sent it back to Jakir that way, because I was kind of using it to test that feature when we were working on it, and it's possible that I just left that in there. So I can't recall.
That's awesome. So yeah, and then you can come in here and you can so especially over this middle section here, it kind of floats a bunch, and I think this is probably supposed to be bar 9. So again, it rounds it up, and you don't have to do every single bar. You can kind of eyeball it here and be like, all right, now we're kind of drifting a little bit of ways. Come in there, select that downbeat. So the way that it was done in the session you guys downloaded, I think they marked every single bar, but I often will let it breathe for a bar or two, and then just when I see it getting a little bit off grid, come back in there, tab to transient, find my downbeat using the kick or a bass or something like that, and then Option Command I, and you can see it's just building up that tempo map here in real time. So yeah, that's a nice little trick there. Drew, is there anything else on your little fun Friday tricks that me and Connor don't know about yet?
Well, yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Yeah, so actually Connor knows about this one because I stole it from him, but but anyway, one of the things, I had 2 things on my list, which one was this, one of the questions I've been getting a lot is about on this, the Neve summing idea. So I just wanted to address that, where people were wondering why summing is not on a per channel basis. And the idea there is, as you can see in this little session that I created, was that summing is for buses and main outs. This happens to be a very simple session because I just made it really quickly for this demonstration. But it just to kind of show all of the elements in one place, where if you do these things, you're really kind of emulating a full console. And so what I've done is I've put a 1073 on every channel, and then I've also did Neve summing on the main out, and then put an ATR 102 on on the master fader, just as a quick example of the concept of summing. So our summing is the channel strips handle the individual channels, and the buses and the main out are handled by the Neve summing. Nice. I did just realize, I think to show you this, I would have to give you my link, I guess, or possibly.
Are you just trying to do a before and after thing, or?
No, I would want you I would need you to hear this. The thing I was going to do, I could do it in a different episode, but I can't tell if, let's see if I share my sound, if that'll mess things up. Let me just see. Can you see if this is coming through? Nah, okay, we'll do it. We'll do it some other time because it's actually better. The little thing I was going to show is I would need to do the audio, so and I know we're running a little late on time, so I'll save that one. I'll save it for the next.
Well, yeah, this actually would be a good one for next week. Where since these Friday Q&As always fly by. Love seeing so many great questions and such awesome engagement from you guys here on the chat. But I got to tease a little bit about next week because next week we're going back to so Monday will be a normal. We'll do hopefully one episode of Office Hours on Monday, but Tuesday, mark your calendars. Set if you got things on the books for Tuesday, you may want to reschedule them for Friday or maybe the week after, because next week on Tuesday we've got 3 Office Hour special guests. We've got Fab DuPont coming back for another Tales from the Switch.
Who's that?
Never heard of him, right?
Never heard of him.
So Fab will be here on Tuesday. We have Trevor Lawrence Jr., one of Dr. Dre's producers and an incredible drummer. He's got a sick setup at home with multiple drum sets, multiple Apollos, tracking projects from home. We've got Zane Carney, who's an incredible songwriter and producer, singer, artist. He's a little bit of everything, and he's just getting into Luna as well. So we'll be chatting 3 Office Hours on Tuesday. We have 2 Office Hours on Wednesday and 2 Office Hours on Thursday. And we're between, I can't remember who's on which day at the moment, but we've got Joe Ciccarelli, we've got Daryl Thorpe, we've got Jimmy Douglas, and Damian Taylor are all showing up as well next week. It's a huge week. There's a special reason I can't tell you guys about right now as to why we're bringing so much heat next week. But all will be revealed on Tuesday. Yeah, so it's just a little tease for everybody. It's gonna be a super fun week. I'm personally very excited to get to hang out and talk shop with all these guys next week. And I'm also really excited for you guys to see what we're coming out with next week as well. Oh yeah, So we'll post all the episodes on YouTube. Like we'll have the times and who's up on there next week. And yeah, I saw a comment come in. I think it was yesterday. Someone in live chat was like, "How do Office Hours just keep on getting better?" And it's I'm also being the person doing it. I'm amazed that they keep on getting better too. But keep on bringing the heat and keep on bringing in awesome guests who just want to. They're so generous, man. Like that's the coolest thing is like talking with people like with Terry and Fab and Shakir, like all these guys. They're just so generous and like. Genuinely awesome humans on top of being badass music makers and producers and engineers. It's incredible. What a fun thing. And of course it's all relies on you guys showing up and hanging out with us for so many of these, asking good questions, helping each other, creating incredible documents and creating notes for all these and helping each other out. So like huge shout out to all of you guys, all the lunatics out there who are out here joining us for all these Office Hours. We really do appreciate you guys. Anything else, Drew or Connor, before we sign off for the weekend?
No, I'm good. Thank you guys.
Nope. I think that's good. I'll save that one for next week.
Awesome. Great, man. Well, I hope everybody has a really great weekend. Go make some music, stay safe, stay indoors. Call a friend or two, say hi, say what's up from me. If you need an excuse to call a friend or an artist or a client or someone you've been meaning to get back in touch with, tell them Ben said to call them. They said I told you to call them this weekend to reconnect and hang out. So yeah, everybody have a great weekend and we'll catch you back here next week.
See you, everybody.